I mean, our first stunt, which was kind of like, well, it wasn't planned, but it was when we got told off by Unilever, and they were asking us to say sorry for some competitor ads which compared our products to Unilever's, and we got a slap around the wrist. We needed to say sorry, and we thought, right, so how can we say sorry in a way that demonstrates some of our brand values? We're trying to save the planet, but it doesn't mean we can't do it with a bit of a smile on our face. So we decided to make Unilever a peace offering by delivering them a giant 3.5 metre olive tree as a symbol of peace, and delivered that to their head office in London at 8 a.m. one morning with a nice letter written to Alan, he was the CEO of Unilever. And the security guards weren't too happy.
Hello and welcome to the D2C podcast. I'm Eric Dick. Today we are getting totally pitted with Fussy Deodorant co-founder and CEO Matt Kennedy. Fussy, which can be found at getfussy.com, is on a mission to banish single-use plastic from your bathroom with simple, high-quality, and effective personal care products that are backed by science and offered as a subscription to really drive that LTV. Founded in 2020 and launched just this year, Fussy has seen incredible growth from a combination of smart PR hits and well-capitalized on TV appearances that have fueled both their organic and paid efforts. In this episode, we cover why being fussy about personal care products is a good thing, why PR has been Fussy's biggest lever for lowering blended CaC, how Fussy leveraged a spat with Unilever for both short and long-term success, as well as some supply chain learnings that Matt wished he learned a long time ago. Now, give yourself a quick pit sniff and let's delve into deodorant today. On with the show. Grin is the #1 influencer marketing software built for e-commerce. Grin puts over 33 million influencers at your fingertips and is the only platform with e-commerce integrations. With affiliate link and discount code generation, campaign workrooms, and the most comprehensive reporting to showcase live ROI, the best D2C brands trust Grin for rapid growth and scale. Go to grin.co today. Welcome to the D2C podcast, Matt. Could we please start with the why of Fussy? Why did you build Fussy?
It's quite a simple answer, I guess. It's to save the planet, man. I mean, we've got this amazing, planet Earth in all its kind of spine-tingly glory, 4.5 billion years to create it. But unfortunately, a lot less than that it's going to take to destroy it if we carry on. So that's kind of the big why, I guess. I mean, the actual kind of like how we then ended up at deodorant is slightly more convoluted, but that's why we exist. We're here to banish single-use plastic from your bathroom.
I love it. Okay, now go that one level deeper because I have an intimate relationship with alternative deodorants, and so I'm interested to hear the origin story of yours.
Yeah, sure. So both my co-founder and I are from advertising backgrounds. So we worked for a good part of a decade creating mainly above the line kind of TV adverts and stuff for what has, I guess, some of the polluters, some of the, major polluters of the world. So the likes of Unilever, Pantene, Gillette, those kind of brands we were actually working for. So we were kind of experiencing it on a day-to-day basis and I guess witnessing firsthand the failure of those brands to address the problems that we were facing. But they have the ability to, but, I guess with big legacy supply chains and stuff like that, it's not easy for them to move. So we were getting frustrated. And then that kind of combined with what was going on in our personal lives, which was both Eddie and I were having babies, not together, sorry, but like both our wives were having babies. And they were looking for more natural deodorants, ones without aluminium due to breastfeeding. And they couldn't find one that worked, one that kept the stink away. So it was kind of that kind of perfect storm of, wanting to do better for the planet combined with a personal situation where, we couldn't find one that worked and thought, maybe we can do it better.
I love it. And it's one of those product categories you think of like everyone has 2 armpits, every human being. So, it's quite a broad market. With a sort of unlimited potential. All my personal story. So Tom's, I have a vendetta against Tom's deodorant just because when you put that stuff on, I don't know if it's just my body chemistry or what, but I actually end up smelling far worse than I would if I had put nothing on. And I'm curious, how did you actually go about solving the problem of actually creating a deodorant that really works?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's armpits, I guess, are like wonderfully different, which makes us all unique and is great. But you're right, like it is really hard. I mean, I guess we started like every entrepreneur out there, and went to Google. It's like deodorant manufacturer UK, click enter. But it took in the end. I mean, yeah, a lot of googling, a lot of LinkedIn, and we found a really good cosmetic chemist that we work with. I did actually try and make some in my kitchen because I think it's important, deodorant aside, like supply chain, marketing, etc. As a business owner, it's really important to kind of get across and try everything before you get someone else to do it. So based on that philosophy, we did try and make it ourselves, but I ended up actually like burning through a physical pan. So that didn't go very well. So then we got a professional. You'll be glad to know. So if you buy Fussy, it's not my formula. And it was just really trial and error for a good 12 months, I'd say. A lot of brands out there go straight to a manufacturer and get a white label product and kind of slap the label on their logo on it, and that's fine. It's a good way to kind of get out there quickly. But I guess we were already entering a market that was fairly competitive, so we took the decision to let's slow down a little bit actually and make sure that when we launch the deodorant works. So we tested all kinds of different active ingredients, and we actually landed upon a probiotic. So something you more commonly find in a yogurt than a deodorant. And the effect that has on it, it's a good bacteria. And it basically takes on the bad bacteria that likes to hang out in your armpits and neutralizes it, so that when your sweat hits the bacteria, it doesn't smell. So that's kind of like our not so secret ingredient. But yeah, so a lot of trial and error, a lot of testing on smelly people, but worth it in the end because we've got a product that is super effective.
I love it. I'll have to give it a try. I also love the form factor of the product, that like the case, the refillable aspect. How did you guys sort of go? Was there a product you were kind of building off of when you built the actual prototype for the case and the refills, or did you just kind of imagine that with a product designer?
Yeah, we imagined it with a product designer. I guess again, both Eddie and I being from design backgrounds, we're particularly kind of fussy, pardon the pun, on design and stuff like that, and certainly like the power of brand. Like again, with something that we're really focused on. But yeah, we work with a really good design agency in London called Blonde, who helped us out. And I guess the kind of brief was like, we want to be like the Apple of deodorants, and have this kind of, and they presented back this idea, this pebble form that was inspired by a pebble you might find on the beach, which then also kind of cues to the natural elements in our deodorant. And we just loved it. So went with that. And I guess, again, like I say, we've chosen to invest heavily into design because I think one of the problems with sustainable products that we identified is that, they're not always that sexy. Like, there's kind of like a go-to trope, isn't there, of like flowery wallpaper patterns and, a little bit hippie, whereas we were like, less hippie, more hip kind of thing. So yeah, really leaned into the design like purposefully.
And it's very lifestyle. You can just see on the pictures on your website and stuff, people are pulling it out of their pocket, and it doesn't look like something that belongs in behind a mirrored shelf on a bathroom. It looks like something that you would pull out of your purse, and it just looks really cool. So I imagine that's been a big part of the growth, or the vision of it.
Totally, and I think that was part of it going into it, wasn't it? In terms of like a marketing, you want people to kind of share it, take pictures of it, and that kind of organic growth. And the design has definitely helped with that. And winning design awards, getting picked up in design press, etc. It's super important because there's like hundreds of natural deodorants, and I think Miles from Native himself has said before, hasn't he? Like what last thing we need is another deodorant. So it's like how do we make a deodorant that stands out basically and gets more attention? If anything, we've probably gone too far actually and made a deodorant that is better being carried around in a handbag or in your bedroom than it is on the bathroom shelf, because we've designed it so that it doesn't stand up. We like to say it sits like a pebble. So some people are getting a little bit frustrated. That kind of splits opinion, but again, we can't please everyone, and I think that's something we've kind of definitely learned as a brand is, go with your gut.
I love it. And then, so again, looking at the website, you've built this amazing product. Did you then build the brand around it? Like how the website looks, for instance, was that built after the product or was that kind of done concurrently?
Yeah, it was really an evolution actually, because we launched as a Kickstarter project last October, and then we did the brand. We came up with the name and stuff, but we did the branding ourselves pretty much between Eddie and I, and that had a little bit more of a homemade feel. But we that was kind of purposeful because we studied a lot of Kickstarters. All the top ones have an element of kind of like they're a little bit rough around the edges because people want to kind of buy into that journey. So, and we also had like no cash to like get a design agency. So the branding back then was a little bit rougher around the edges, and actually was also like, I think there's an article out there, isn't there, by Nick Sharma or someone, but our branding back then was much more like in the pastel on pastel colours that every brand does, and a bit go to, I suppose. And then after Kickstarter, that went really well, thankfully. We then had a bit of money in the bank and decided to kind of like do Fussy 2.0, which is what you see on the website now, and the brand world we've got around that. So we just kind of took things up a notch, played more into kind of like the premiumness of the product. And yeah, that's been kind of really, really important for us.
I love that evolution of the bland, which is, I think, a lot of the way people start with those pastels, and there's sort of like a bit of a playbook for how these brands are supposed to look. And then to evolve to that, to what you have now, which is it's very stark. It's very, I don't know, I want to say it's very British. There's something about the use of the stickers and the really stark imagery. I find that I've seen across a couple of different UK brands, but it's very functional and very, very clean. Really impressed with it.
Yeah, cheers. We've actually got we've got flex in our brand world. So kind of at the one end, like you say, is the very clean product world, and then on the other side, we've got like this lifestyle world, which and we're kind of there's a bit of flex depending on basically when we see who our audience, what resonates more with our audience, because we're still a young brand. We can kind of dial up or dial down. So the stickers have kind of got a 90s aesthetic to them, and the purpose behind those is historically stickers we use to like spread the word, spread the message, and obviously that's what we're trying to do with Fussy in terms of saving the planet. So that was the kind of the logic behind the stickers.
I love it. Now, Fussy, bring up Fussy again too as a brand, and it's something that really is, as someone who has probably tried, dozens of different organic deodorants. And things like this, alternative deodorants. Fussy is such a great word, but it's very unique because fussy is not a word that is generally thought of as a positive word on its own. Like I think of my daughter being fussy, and that's not something I like. But when I tie it to deodorant, it makes perfect sense because it's something that when you catch a whiff of something that's wrong or your deodorant isn't working, you have every right to be fussy about it. Is that sort of the thinking that went into the brand?
Yeah, exactly. We spent God knows how many, when we first started, we were working full time in our jobs. So we used to meet up 6 a.m. down a coffee shop and kind of do a couple of hours on this and then go into work. And yeah, brainstorming names just took ages. And I guess like the go-tos are like, clean cues and natural cues and stuff like that. But there's just so many brands out there calling themselves that. So again, we wanted to kind of lean away into that. And what we found with Fussy was, it kind of divides opinions. Like, well, normally it's a negative, but what if we can embrace that? Again, it's just a way of, I suppose, creating a little bit of standout in the market, but also just putting our stake in the ground, like, and standing for something as a brand. Like when we say we're Fussy, internally we use that, about everything. So our suppliers, our ingredients, like the pixels on an Instagram post, like we're probably too fussy about. So it was really just like a call to action as well, that we wanted to make a stand for something, and that we are fussy, and like you should be fussy as well, actually, and that by being fussy we can create a better planet for everyone.
Amazing. And by being fussy, they're going to return to your product, because if they're fussy about your deodorant, they're fussy about yours, they're going to be long-term customers as well. So it's all kind of baked into that concept. It's really neat.
Cheers. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. So most people
Nice.
get it as well. Actually, like there's a couple of people that are like, "What?" um, but there's like boring companies, and like there are some examples of where negative names have worked. So, but yeah, we like it. So thanks.
We talk about it on the podcast all the time, which is just that ability, that need to make people make a decision, right? And if it's something they like or they don't like, it's like at least they're making a decision, because if you're a bland in today's D2C world, it's tougher and tougher to stand out. So I think it was a good call on your part. Let's move a little bit into the marketing of it. So you've got this product, you've got it tested. Tell me a little bit about your growth and some of the key levers in the early part of scaling. And I know you're still pretty early with it.
Yeah, exactly. We've probably been going 3 months, with 3 or 4 months actually, with our kind of full D2C offering online. I think bringing a product to market. When we were pitching investors actually way back when, they were saying, "Oh, it's not going to take you 6 months to get this to market." We were like, it will." 18 months later, we were like, "Okay, they were right." But what we say, marketing, yeah. I mean, we've had really amazing growth since we started. So we've gone from kind of 0 to 10,000 UK customers. We've sold over 100,000 deodorants, which is amazing. And I think a lot of that for us, we're still in test and learn phase, right? But a lot of that for us has been PR driven. So we found this kind of, I guess, doing offline stuff basically, and then bringing it into the online world has been working really well for us. I guess the hard thing about that is it's a bit hit and miss. You're not always going to guarantee yourself PR. So we obviously have to kind of spread our channels somewhat, but that's what's worked really well for us so far.
I love this PR approach. Now, talk to me about how you've done that. You say they're hit and miss ones. What did your schedule look like? How many press hits have you had in this 18 months? Yeah, talk to me about the press, and then let's talk about how you've used that press in your ads even.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in terms of like classic PR, like just getting written about, we've been featured everywhere pretty much. From Vogue to Daily Mail to design websites, like I say. And I guess it's just making sure that you're giving something people to write about, giving people something to write about. And again, that then goes back to the decisions about the design of the deodorant and the colours and the story you can tell and all of that. But then in terms of actual stunts, I guess, our first stunt, which was kind of like, well, it wasn't planned and it wasn't particularly something we should like be proud of, but it was when we got told off by Unilever. And a couple of our internal values, basically, one of our internal values, everything is an opportunity. So we got this legal letter from Unilever, and they were asking us to say sorry for some competitor ads we ran, and we saw that as an opportunity to do our first kind of stunt. So I don't know if you want me to go into that more.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, we basically ran some competitor ads which compared our products to Unilever's products, and we got a slap around the wrist. Though the click-through rate was great on those ads, unfortunately. I guess that's why everyone does them. But yeah, so they sent us quite a long legal letter asking us to apologise and take down the ads, which is totally the right thing to do. And I think coming from advertising background, we kind of hang our heads in shame at the ads that we ran. We've gone from kind of being the guys that are always saying, no, make the logo smaller, to now make the logo bigger. But yeah, so we ran these ads. We needed to say sorry. And we thought, right, so how can we say sorry in a way that, basically demonstrates some of our brand values in terms of everything's an opportunity and to take what we do seriously, but not ourselves. Like, we're trying to save the planet, but it doesn't mean we can't do it with a bit of a smile on our face. So we decided to make Unilever a peace offering by delivering them a giant 3.5 meter olive tree as a symbol of peace, and delivered that to their head office in London at 8 a.m. one morning, with a nice letter written to Alan, who was the CEO of Unilever. And it was great. Although the security guards weren't too happy, Alan himself was quite happy, and we asked him to look after it, and he got back to us and said that he was going to keep it watered and stuff. So it was really good actually in the end.
And he
what
told you
that
not
did,
to sweat it, I saw, which was a
yeah,
big
that was
part.
it. Yeah, that was it. He told us not to sweat it, which is great. And I guess it was just great because we got to do a bit of brand marketing, which like startups often don't do. Right, it's all performance focused. So it got us. It was an opportunity to do a bit of brand and what we stand for. It did really well on the business side of things in terms of investors saw us, so we got to speak to some investors off the back of it. And then also we obviously made a video out of it, and we were able to take that video and use that in our advertising, and at top of funnel. And it's been really good there actually in terms of getting people to site. I'm not sure people coming to site knew entirely what they were coming to site for. They're like, was it an olive tree or? But fine,
Yeah. It's really great, and it has that scrappy D2C attitude. We always sort of say it: move fast, break things, ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Things like that kind of are really
Exactly.
exemplified in the D2C world, and that's really what you did. And then you were able to spin it. You made these comparisons to Unilever, a competitor I imagine at some point might be interested in buying you, which is great to be on their radar. Period. And then to fold it all into something where they actually are acknowledging you and responding to you, and you're then building that into your campaigns. It's a really great guerrilla tactic for a challenger brand. I'm quite impressed with it.
Cheers. Yeah, much appreciated. Yeah. I wonder what happened to the olive
Nice.
tree
Is
as
that
well.
He said he'd take care of it. He said not to sweat it. He'd
Yeah.
take care of it.
Yeah.
I have
It
a
was
friend. One of my friends is at Unilever in the U.S., so I'll see if he can
amazing.
do any digging. Elliot, if
It
you're
was a
listening,
really
let's find out what happened to that olive
Yeah,
tree.
it was a really nice olive tree. Yeah, because actually, I felt sorry for the delivery driver because we hired a delivery driver to help us, and he had no idea. And he was Greek Cypriot, so he was like, "Oh, an olive tree, man! I love olive trees." Um, and then after we delivered it, he sat in the van to me after we kind of evaded security, and he said, "That wasn't anything dodgy, was it, mate?" I was like, "No, no, just dropping
No.
it. It's fine." But so if he's
If you were
listening,
going to
I
release
apologize.
doves, if you're going to release doves into their office, that would be a bad gesture of peace. But I think the olive tree is a universal gesture of
Exactly,
goodwill. So I think you're fine.
exactly. And
That's awesome. So
Sorry, go on.
no, you go on.
God, I was just going to say, Unilever, to their credit, actually, are doing some really good stuff on the sustainability side of things. So if they are listening, yeah, hats off.
Nice. I wanted to ask, how do you view Unilever as your biggest competitor? How do you view the competitive landscape at the position the business is in now?
Yeah, I think it's getting more and more competitive. At the time we started Fussy, there wasn't a refillable natural deodorant in the UK. There is one now, and they're doing great guns, and they've got a great product, and hats off to them. But I think it's a growing market. It's something that consumers are more aware about, and so I think there's room for a few of us basically, as long as we've all got our strengths and weaknesses, I suppose. Slightly different from Unilever, I suppose, in terms of like the Lynxes and the Shores and the other kind of supermarket deodorants, in that they're not really a comparable product. Like we do get a lot of people saying, "Well, I can buy a deodorant for £1 down the supermarket," and it's like, yeah, but you're not really comparing. If you look at the ingredients on them both, one's kind of full of chemicals and you need a chemistry degree, and the other one is kind of all natural premium ingredients. But there is an education job there to do, and that's probably one of our challenges. Like, not only are we a natural deodorant, which we have to educate people about that it works and why it's more expensive, but we're also refillable. So that's another element that we then have to educate people about. Yeah, it's getting more competitive, but I think there's space in the market for more than one. And like I say, for us, deodorant is just the start. We really want to take on the whole bathroom. So I think that's where the real opportunity lies.
Exciting. Your cupboards are overflowing with coffee, you ran out of toilet paper, your spouse is on you about 2 credit card charges this month. The truth is, subscriptions are great until they're not. Reordering can be easy. Just visit getrepeat.io to find out how. I wanted to go back to PR a little bit. And you've had multiple hits. You've had press hits. You've had things in trade papers. You've also had TV spots. And I wanted to ask, you've also had this stunt, as you sort of define it a little bit with Unilever. Of these things, which has had the biggest impact on growth? Actually, has it been a combination of all of them, or are there certain things, whether that's TV or print, that have really stood out in their effectiveness?
Yeah, sure. For us, without doubt, so far has been organic TV. So in that, we got the product onto like a daytime TV show, and that without doubt has been like, yeah, I mean, it like overnight. We were on this daytime TV show in the UK. Sales that day were crazy. I mean, we did like 2 weeks in an hour. And off the back of that, we then took that clip and subtitled it, etc., and put that online, and that halved our cost of acquisition overnight. So, and that we managed to get that for a good, really milk it for a good 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, I mean, so that's definitely something we're going to try and do more of, is like get on TV, but it's a hard one, isn't it? But it was with a celebrity as well, so it was like the dream scenario, really, like a celebrity on TV. She's called Holly Willoughby. She's a British TV presenter. To be honest, a bit outside of what we thought our target market was, because we're kind of going after Gen Z millennials, whereas Holly Willoughby maybe is she's on a daytime TV show when a lot of people are at work, so it's different type of audience, but actually did really well, and it'd be interesting to see what the retention's like.
Nice. So local TV hits out there, have a lot of impact. That's great feedback. I wanted to ask also, then you're able to use these video assets in Facebook ads and Instagram ads. Do you basically get the footage after you go on these TV shows? Do they just sort of provide that gratis?
Well, I wouldn't say they provide it as such, but I would say you can get it.
Nice.
So I mean, we just rip the video offline, and then cut it up, and off you go.
Love it. Permission or forgiveness, not permission, as always.
Exactly. We really should have learned, shouldn't we? But Holly will be fine, because I wrote a Christmas advert once with Holly Willoughby. So if she gets in contact, I'll just say, oh, do you not remember that advert you did ages ago?
I love it. So you've built a subscription product too, which is obviously the holy grail for a lot of consumable products. I wanted to ask, how is the retention component going to people who buy these products that have this great form factor? That's obviously something they might want to keep around in their house. How is the actual retention aspect of Fussy going?
Yeah, really, really good. So we've, against what we're modeling and what we're seeing like we're smashing our targets. So that's really, really good. I think there's a few reasons for that. I think obviously we're at the start of our journey, so as we scale, I'm sure that's going to change, and they'll become a problem or something that we need to look at more closely. But at the moment, it's really good, and I think a few reasons. We make it quite easy for people to skip or to push back that delivery. So we're using SMS already. There's not many people in the UK using SMS. It's much more widespread in the States, it seems. I think over here maybe it's just like us Brits, we're just a little bit more nervous or like private. I don't know, but like a lot of people you speak to are like, no, I don't want brands messaging me on my phone. And we asked all our friends actually, and they were all like, yeah, no, I definitely don't want you messaging me on my phone. So, but then we tested it, and we're finding that those that don't want to get messaged just don't like respond, and we hardly get any unsubscribes. But those that do engage with text, like really engage, and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe Matt's messaging me on SMS, like that's crazy. And then you have a really good one-on-one conversation, and yeah, we're finding it great for pushing back retention in terms of pushing back, but also like gathering reviews and really building that brand, so and that one-on-one relationship. So that's been really good for retention. And then I guess the other thing just goes back to product, right? Which is just making sure the product works. Like if the natural deodorant didn't work, our churn would be way higher. So So nothing groundbreaking, I guess, just like, but that focus on product and customer from the off is like something we've really focused on, and then driving that through the company. I think if the founders don't feel really passionate about like giving every customer an amazing experience and having an amazing product, then the people like that you employ further down the line won't either. So that's something we're really fussy about. And yeah, one of the first hires we made actually, which was kind of, I guess, I don't know, it'd be interesting to know if it is unique, but was on customer service. We decided not to outsource, to bring that in house, and yeah, really give everyone like an amazing experience. So yeah, they're probably like our focuses in terms of retention.
Nice. I also noticed here that you have a Dr. Sweat, and you mentioned her earlier in the formulation of the product. But I just wanted to ask about that. I recently interviewed Spotlight Oral, which is an Irish tooth care brand, oral care brand, and they really push their two founders who are dentists, front and center in their TikToks and things like this. And I was wondering, like, if you're introducing a fairly novel concept, as far as I understand it, which is probiotics in deodorant. I know I've got a friend who runs a probiotic company called Biome, and that's been, having a doctor as the front of those probiotics has been a huge part of their brand growth. I wanted to ask if you'd experimented with pushing your doctor or any of your scientific sort of personas to the front of your marketing, or where people interact with that doctor persona with your brand. Is that something that you do?
Yeah, I mean, something we've definitely spoken about, and I think it's really interesting. I just love the name Dr. Sweat as well. Like,
so good.
But
it's my DJ name also. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, we did ask our doctor that that formulated if she would be part of our kind of advisory board and we could use her in marketing material and stuff. But she was like, no, she doesn't even want her name known. So like, it's kind of adds to the mystique even more. Like, we literally do have someone called Dr. Sweat because we can't say her real name. So we did try. And then, yeah, I mean, it's something we're still looking at. We use the phrase backed by science, not buzzwords. And that seems to resonate really well with consumers, because I think it does two things, right? It says you're backed by science, and then it also has a go at like buzzwords, which is just, everyone in the cosmetic industry is saying they're clean and they're natural and they're environmentally friendly, but they don't always necessarily back it up. So that kind of phrase for us does a couple of jobs. But yeah, something we've looked at definitely, and maybe if we can convince our doctor to reveal her name at some point, we'll be able to do more of it.
I love it. Well, Dr. Sweat's a pretty cool name too. But
yeah.
Okay, now back to retention, because there's one other aspect I wanted to hit on here. In our pre-interview, we talked about one of the other aspects you've tested for retention. That was handwritten letters. Can you talk about that situation? How that worked? Was it you actually writing them?
Yeah, it was. Well, we've actually done it twice now. So because we're a Kickstarter again, it was like we really want to thank our original backers, because and I really do respect them, because I mean, they backed us, and it was like a year delay, and hardly any of them complained, and they basically enabled us to kind of change our lives pretty much. So we really owed them one. So and we'd heard stories about other brands that had done it, and it gone down well. So yeah, Eddie and I kind of wrote out over 3,000 thank you notes by hand, which was quite a few long days and nights, but yeah, worth it, I think. And we put a little discount code on there. Hard to measure, I guess. Some of the discount codes still come through, but again, I feel like it's just that branded experience and bringing them into like the Fussy family. And then since then, we've done another mail drop. Actually, we're testing at the moment. We've done we took 1,000 people, and we took 500. 500 got a handwritten letter and 500 got an email asking them to subscribe, and we're going to see which one wins. So yeah, experimenting with stuff like that as well. Again, maybe not scalable tactic, but something that I think early on in your brand story, when you want those early engagers and adopters to refer their friends and stuff, is probably worth doing. Another really interesting thing we looked at, but I can't remember the name of the company, but someone was doing personalized videos, which I thought was really cool. Like you get a personalized thank you video from the founder, but not gone any further with that. But I thought that was really cool.
Less hand cramping from all that writing, but you would Yeah, that would be an interesting one to test for sure. I wanted to ask, one of the things we don't talk a lot about, and we did talk on in the pre-interview a little bit about is supply chain. And having an all-natural product that you've got all these ingredients probably from different sources. I wanted to ask is what do you wish you knew about supply chain a little bit earlier than you did?
Oh my God, supply chain. Like, oh my God, it's just my worst nightmare. Every day is so many supply chain issues. But what I wish I knew first, I guess, well, everyone kept saying to us like how important supply chain is, and we kind of like knew it was important, but I guess being marketeers by background and over-indexing in that, we kind of naively thought growth equals marketing, right? Like get a product, market it, you'll grow, amazing. But actually, it's like growth equals marketing plus operations. And so I guess there's a few mistakes we made early on. I guess we were so focused on our margins because investors and everyone kept telling us we need to look at that. We sometimes took a cheaper option than we should have. So we now actually pay more for most of our products than we did back when we first started to improve the supply chain, improve the comms, improve the lead times, just generally more professional outfits we're working with. And I was going to say I wish we hired sooner, so I wish we brought in a head of ops sooner. But actually, going back to what I was saying earlier, if we had brought in a head of ops sooner, I wouldn't know half the stuff that I know now about operations. So, and I wouldn't be able to interview them. I wouldn't be able to like tell them what we need doing. Whereas now we've got a brilliant head of ops from a D2C clothing brand starting literally in a week. I know exactly what we wanted to do and exact roadmap. So I'm glad we did it, and we made some crazy costly mistakes. Like what can I tell you about? We shipped like £10,000 worth of cardboard boxes, and that cost us like more than the boxes. We paid like £15,000 shipping or something, and we were just like, oh my God, what? So many like mistakes along the way. We've also that was quite an exciting day actually. We needed to move supplier because our current one of our suppliers was literally filling 30,000 refills by hand. No joke. I was like, wow. I mean, at least it's handcrafted, but it was literally the MD of the company, and he was telling me that he was like, oh, sorry, Matt, I was up till like 10 o'clock last night filling the deodorants by hand. I was like, oh my God. So it took him about a month to fill these things, which added to our delays. So we were like, right, look, we need to change suppliers. So we went to a fully automated place, but then, of course, they're like, well, there's a 3-month lead time. So we're then facing a period of time. We've just launched, and we've just been told we're going to basically be out of stock for 3 months. So, I mean, it'd be game over, right? We'd be dead. So, we're like, right, what's the problem? They were like, we can't get coconut oil. So Eddie and I had to hit the phones, and it was actually the old supplier that got us out of trouble. Managed to help us buy a metric ton of coconut oil. So one Friday I bought a metric ton of coconut oil, and then we sold that to our new supplier. So we kind of became like material wholesalers at the same time. So that was good.
You're a magnate. You're an oil magnate. You're an oil man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, moving into oil. So yeah, if anyone needs any coconut oil, hit me up.
Okay, that's good to know. Nice. Well, that is a really interesting. You actually made a little profit on that arbitrage there. That's pretty interesting. I wanted to ask too, just quickly about your overall. It sounds like you've got a great organic base. You've got you're using your press hits, your PR in through your ads in order to drive growth there. What about retail and Amazon? Where do you see those pieces in your puzzle?
Yeah, I think we're working on them at the moment. So really important. I guess a couple of things is that your product. We're still a few things that we're actually bringing out a new case very soon, which is we've made the finish more premium and it's just generally a better product. But we want to make sure our deodorant really stands up, to the masses. So when you go retail, we want the best product possible. So we're waiting and kind of using our community to tweak the product and make it as best as we can before we do that. I've heard some horror stories about people that go into retail too early, and even just like delivering the goods to the warehouse with the barcode in the wrong place, they get sent back, and they lose that retailer. So I think like don't run before you can walk is kind of what we're doing. In fact, that retailer, this is kind of a diversion, but they ran their goods in, so where they check the goods in, as a profit center. So like if they send goods away, but they still take the money for those goods or something, they make money from it. I don't know. So they run goods in like a business. So I was just like, oh, do you know what? That sounds stressful. I don't want to do that yet. So, so yeah, we're perfecting our product. And then once that is perfected, we are going to go to retail. We've got a couple of retailers actually in the US and UK that we're chatting to at the moment, which fit in with our kind of brand and our ethos. Because that's the other thing. So making sure the product's right and that we're ready to go, but then also making sure that the partner's right. I think, they've got to match our sustainability credentials and kind of the way we envision the planet, but also in terms of volumes and stuff like that. I think we don't want to become kind of, like spread across 300 different retailers, different corner shops. And, I think we'd rather focus on like a couple really good key retailers to start with and then grow out from there. Amazon, definitely chatting to those guys. But again, it's just making sure that we align in terms of values and stuff. And then I guess the third part of it is, we're a D2C brand, right? And like half of our value, if not more, is owning that brand experience data and like one-on-one relationship with the customer. So as soon as we give that up, or if you give that up too early, I think it could be really harmful. So especially when we're kind of still learning about who our customer is, what next products they want to see, stuff like that. And especially when you want to sell them refills and subscriptions. So that's a consideration as well. We want to make sure we've got a good base of customers that we can communicate directly with before we go to retail.
Makes sense. I wanted to ask, for retail, is there any issues with the form factor of the product not standing up? Because I think of all deodorants I see in retail environments, and they are all kind of standing up that way. Is that something that you solve with the packaging of the product?
Yeah, exactly. So the packaging stands up, but I'll let you know. We're still thinking like, is a retailer going to have an issue with this? But the ones we've spoken to so far haven't. Like, they love it. So yeah, it does stand up in the packaging, and we are looking at a stand for those customers that want it. Like we've surveyed our customers, we've asked them, and the majority don't want us to change it because you would have to make the base so flat that it would change the form factor, and a lot of people, that's the reason they bought it. So it's kind of like that, if you try and please everyone, you please no one kind of thing, isn't it? So. But I'll let you know. So I'm sure someone will have an issue with it.
Love it. Nice. Okay, I wanted to ask, this is one of my favorite questions to ask all the time. If we were to give you a £50,000 grant right now for the business, where would you put it in? Let's say on the marketing side, on the customer acquisition side, where on the customer acquisition side would you put those funds to see the most growth?
It's a difficult one. I mean, this is a really boring answer, but I would have to obviously do a little bit of a test, I think. So I would test some more channels, but I think obviously influencer marketing, it's not an area that we've done. We're working on it at the moment, and it just takes a bit longer than we anticipated, actually. But I definitely think influencer marketing and getting into TikTok. We've got a new head of social joined us last month, and she was outraged that we weren't yet on TikTok. As I'm sure you guys would be outraged too. So
totally,
yeah. So we definitely get in there and get in the creator marketplace. But I also think events. I also think we're going to see a rise in D2C brands getting out in the real world and doing events. Be that trade shows or one-off activations. So yeah, I think we'd have a look at. We'd probably split the budget, but we'd have a look at doing some online stuff as well.
I like that. I love that idea of people kind of coming together, as the world opens up, ideally in the next little while. I could see, you guys you could sponsor raves, people are packed together and you're questioning how much deodorant the person beside you is wearing, it might be a perfect brand activation for Fussy.
That is so funny you said that, because I've had a conversation today with someone, and I wish I could tell you the idea, but I don't want to give it away. So I'll tell you afterwards. But we are doing something with raves. Yeah.
Love to hear it. Wow. That's really interesting. Nice. And I alluded to this earlier. When you've gotten on Unilever's radar, you're obviously aware, I would imagine, of native deodorant story of Moaz Ali, and their massive acquisition by, I forget which P&G, maybe it was P&G. But I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the future of Fussy? I know you have plans to tackle the whole bathroom, but where do you think? What are your thoughts about acquisition, about roll-ups in this space? Do you want to build the next Unilever, or do you think you might be acquired by a company like that?
Yeah, I think it's probably likely we'll get acquired, and some people have kind of already spoken to us about that, but it's a bit too early for us. But to be honest, like, we're also just really focused on just building a great brand and a great company. It's like it's brands that will last, So we're really, really focused on that, and then what will be will be. I think, like you say, like P&G, the Unilevers, they've got their natural deodorant brands to a certain extent. So I think it'll probably be smaller kind of acquisitions potentially off. There's some companies over in the UK that just acquire subscription brands and do that really well within health and beauty. So I think there's smaller acquisitions like that, and also potentially like mergers as well, like brands coming together. Maybe that's something that will happen in the future. But acquisition definitely on the radar. But and I think it needs to be, because you have to set the company up in such a way that you're acquirable. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to make sure that if I get hit by a bus, that the company can go on running. Otherwise, no one's going to acquire you. So we've definitely got that in mind, but not to the stage where we've got a target or anything like that. We're just focused on product and brand.
And luckily, those things that you are focused on are the things that are going to make you more acquirable in the long run, right? The things that you're naturally focused on, head down, building a great brand, great company that removes yourself if needed. As you mentioned, that's exactly what you need to do to build towards acquisition anyway. So it sounds like you're aligned. And then the last question I have, I know you're a big fan of some other D2C products out there. You've mentioned a few other founders. Are there any other D2C brands that you'd love to shout out as companies that you think are doing it great, either that you love as a consumer or as a founder marketer?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, so many. Oh God, I should know this because I listen to the podcast, and you always ask this question, don't you? And then I was like, if I ever got the podcast, I'm gonna make sure I have my list, but I don't have my list. But I guess what I'd say, I'm not mad in love with any of the D2C brands in the UK. I've got to be honest. I don't think it's something that we generally do that well compared to kind of the other side of the pond. So most of my references are kind of US and Canada based, I guess. So I love House, Poo Puree. Is it Poo Puree? Poo Puree?
Yeah, Poo Puree, yeah.
Yeah, Poo Puree I love. Obviously, what Judy are doing. So I guess hyper kind of visual and brands with a strong visual identity. Those I'm really loving, and also I'd probably shout out Ugly Drinks. To be fair, I know a couple of the guys over there, and I think their tone of voice, they've just got something so unique, and I think that I'd shout them out as well.
Nice. I was thinking of Lily's son, who I had on the podcast, who also, I'm trying to remember what her brand is all of a sudden, or something. But it's another healthcare cause. Yeah, what's the name? We talked about it in the pre-interview, I believe. Yeah, that's right. 4 Shifts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm
a big fan of that brand for how they name their products.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on with us today, and I hope that you continue to stay on the radar of the big boys. Keep being a bit of a thorn in their side as you scale and potentially push the whole industry to care more about saving the world, which is how this world gets better, I think.
Totally. No, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be on because I'm a big fan.
Yeah, let's have you back on in a little while, and you can tell us a little more about your rave idea that is coming to fruition.
It's gonna be ace. It's gonna be ace. I'm gonna email you about it. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, thanks, Matt.
All right. Cheers, Eric. Ta.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can do that right now at direct-to-consumer, all one word, .co. I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C Podcast. We'll see you next time.